Today in Legally Yes, Kevin Costner scores a big win against his ex-wife, while Kroy and Kim put their Georgia mansion on the market. Plus, YouTube star Franke arrested for alleged child abuse, while Erika Jayne is in another legal battle, and Ashley Tisdale is sued for a motor vehicle accident. We've got that plus so much more on today's Legally Yes. Hey everyone, Garibaldi here with President and CEO of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani. Hi Neama, how are you?
Great, Christina. How's it going?
Good. Lots to get to this week. And I feel like every week we talk about Kevin Costner, but this was a big legal win for him against his estranged wife, Christine. So this is in their ongoing dispute regarding child support. So he will now have to pay Christine about $63,000 per month for their 3 children. But she was temporarily receiving $129,000 before the decision was made. She had previously requested almost $250,000 a month. He argued in response, saying that he could not afford to pay that because he will earn substantially less in 2023 following his departure from Yellowstone. She previously claimed that she needed to be having the same lifestyle that she's accustomed to with her children, including flying private jets. So this is a big difference. $250,000 asking, only paying now $63,000 a month. I assume that this is a huge win for Kevin.
Oh, huge win for Kevin Costner, and he keeps winning. And, I don't know what Christine is doing, but she needs to either stop or realize that prenup she signed is ironclad. She's trying to backdoor some additional money through child support because you can't waive child support in a prenup. But whenever you get a quarter of what you're asking for, that's a big loss for Christine here.
Right. So did he just prove that he is making less money, or was the judge just like, this is ridiculous? Because they both took the stand in this trial as well.
I think it's probably more the latter. The judge is saying, hey, $60,000 is a lot in child support. And, we think that you're trying to get money in terms of spousal support that you're not entitled to, or community property. This really isn't about the kids. This is about you. This is about you trying to maintain a level of luxury that really isn't appropriate here. So I think the judge said, hey, if this is really about the kids, I think $60,000 is more than enough.
No, definitely. And what do we think will happen in the trial in November? And that is about the prenup. Do you think everything is going to stay as it was?
I think so. You kind of read the tea leaves here. Obviously, I'm not the judge in this case. And, these cases were decided by judges and not juries. But if you kind of look back at the history of this dispute, really step one was, Kevin Costner having her vacate the house. That was something that was in the prenup. That was something that she agreed to. And, really every step of the way, the judge has sided with Kevin. And I expect that to continue based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Definitely seems like it. All right, moving on to Kim Zolciak-Biermann, another case that we talk about week after week. But she and her husband have finally decided to sell their Georgia home, which went on the market on September 1st. We confirmed last week that Biermann submitted paperwork asking the court to place his and Kim's Alpharetta, Georgia home for sale. Biermann also requested that the proceeds of the sale be placed in escrow. So why did they have to go to the court and ask for the home to be put on the market and not just, call up the local realtor and be like, all right, now we're ready to sell?
Well, I think what happened was, Kim and Kroy's home, did go into foreclosure proceedings, right? So that process had started. And to prevent the home from being foreclosed on, in which case it's usually sold at an auction, it seems like the parties entered into some sort of agreement where they would sell the property, through the normal course, not in an auction, but, of course, the lender, the mortgagee is going to be paid first.
Okay. And that's why that they have to put the money then in escrow?
Exactly, because normally when a home is foreclosed, any lenders, lien holders, they're paid first. There might be a first, there might be a second. But in this particular case, we know that there's other creditors who are going to go after any remainder, any balance that's left over. And there may not be, but if there is, they're going to try to get their hands on it. And there's different types of ways you can attach those funds. So, you have the creditors, whether they're secured creditors like a bank or a potential unsecured creditor like a credit card company that may want to go after those funds.
So this seems like it was long overdue. Like, why did we think that this took so long? Do you think that they were just kind of battling it out? Because Kim said in the press that she pushed Kroy to make this, to put this home on the market. He's saying that he did it. Is it just a matter of kind of who's racing to the finish line first?
It really is, and it's more of a race to the courthouse, and we saw it with different credit card companies that are filing lawsuits, right? And then, you have a bank here or a credit union or whoever really holds the paper here, has the deed of trust or the mortgage. The difference is they're protected because they have the property, whereas, the other creditors don't. So they're rushing to try to get that judgment. But really, this was inevitable. I mean, there's no way, based on what we're being told, that they were going to get out of this financial mess. This question of, were they going to file bankruptcy or were they going to come to some sort of agreement with all these different creditors?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens next. Moving on to a really troubling story. So Ruby Franke, who used to chronicle her large family life, her daily adventures on their 8 Passengers YouTube channel, has been arrested. So she was booked on August 30th in Springville, Utah, on 2 counts of aggravated child abuse. So she was arrested after one of her sons, who was allegedly malnourished, escaped out of a window of their home, ran to a neighbor's house asking for food and water, which authorities later told the Associated Press. So she was at the home of Jody Hildenbrandt, who owns the counseling business Connections Classroom. So she has appeared in several of those YouTube videos, but Hildenbrandt, was also arrested on 2 aggravated child abuse charges and is in custody. 4 minors have been taken into the care of the Division of Child and Family Services. They share 6 children, and one of those children actually spoke out, being like, we've been telling the CPS and the police that we are being abused, and it kind of went ignored. Now, answering that question first, can police and the CPS, can they get in trouble for this if they were flagged?
Oh, potentially. And we've seen documentaries about this where, and each state's a little bit different. Sometimes it's called CPS or, social services or DCFS, but it's all really the same. This is the state agency that is tasked with protecting children, and usually from their parents or legal guardians. But, there have been instances in the past several decades where they've really dropped the ball. I'm not saying that's what's happened here, but it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a child has been severely neglected or physically or even sexually abused, and social workers have done nothing or certainly haven't done enough. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case here.
It's awful. And I mean, I assume that these women will face serious jail time if convicted.
Oh, yeah. So there's basically going to be 2 proceedings. There's what we call the dependency proceeding here in California, but that's when the kids are taken away from their parents. And usually when one child's abused, it's not just that child, right? There's other children that are being abused. And this is how you can lose not only custody of your custody of your children, any rights to your children. And if those rights are terminated, it's like you never had the child at all. So that's obviously the most extreme remedy in a dependency case, but losing your children is certainly a possibility. But there's also criminal charges, of course, neglect, child cruelty. And that's how parents not only lose their kids, they end up in prison.
Right. And what happens to these children now? Will they also be looking into the father if he knew about this alleged abuse? Will those children go back to the father, or will they be taken somewhere else?
Yeah, sometimes they can go to a non-offending parent. So if one parent is being abusive but another is not, then the parents can be placed with the safe parent. But oftentimes, if there's real severe physical abuse, malnourishment, not feeding the kids, tying their hands, these allegations are serious. Even if the other parent isn't participating, they will be charged with failing to protect the children. Mm-hmm. So, they can lose the children as well. So that's usually what happens in a case where there is this type of serious physical abuse. Mm-hmm. Now, assuming the kids are taken, usually they'll try to be placed in the home of a relative that's a little bit less disruptive, if there is a relative who's willing to take these children. And if not, that's how kids end up in foster care or adopted.
Terrible. Such a sad story. All right. Well, moving on to Erika Jayne. She has some new legal problems after she and 2 of her assistants and current and former U.S. Secret Service agents and American Express, she has been sued, alleging that they tried to extort money from this designer. So according to court documents, Chrisley, who co-owns Hollywood costume firm Marco, alleges that that Erika and her estranged husband, Tom Girardi, weaponized the Secret Service to maliciously prosecute him in 2017 in order to acquire a nearly $800,000 refund from American Express. So he claims that Erika gave him and his store consent to charge her credit card for costumes he created, designed, and supplied for her show. shows. However, he further alleges that they falsely told federal agents and the credit card company that the charges to her card were unauthorized. So he alleges that the Secret Service led a reckless investigation into Erika and her staff's claims and deliberately ignored facts that would help exonerate him. So this is a very interesting case. Kind of break this down, but I feel like I've never heard anything about this before with like Secret Service getting involved. It just seems very complex.
This is a very complex case, and this is really sort of a bombshell case here in my hometown of LA. It was recently filed, and the allegations are very serious. We all know that Tom Girardi was a very powerful man, and he had connections to the highest levels of government. You know, the state bar here didn't really investigate him or take action, despite hundreds of complaints because of his, close ties to folks at the state bar. And, now we're talking about folks that, are in federal law enforcement, and the allegations are that Girardi was able to pull strings and to basically get out of debt, to say that, Erika Jayne, her card was fraudulently charged. And not only, this isn't like just a chargeback here. I mean, this is a situation where, federal agents are now getting involved and investigating and potentially prosecuting this costume store. So I don't know if these allegations are true. This lawsuit was just recently filed. We're talking about really a matter of days, but if it's indeed true, this is a very big deal. This is misuse of our system of criminal justice. And, we know how big of a deal that is right now, in other sort of political arenas. So, if Tom Girardi truly was able to get Secret Service to investigate, someone that his wife was having a civil dispute, a credit card dispute with, this is a big, big problem.
Right.
Just allegations for now.
Is this a big problem? Yeah. Sorry, is this a big problem for Erika, or is this a big problem for Tom, or both? Because Tom, he might be incompetent to even, take the stand in his trial and things like that. So does this really fall on Erika?
Yeah, this is something that it's going to be a problem potentially for Erika as well. So obviously Tom Girardi, he's being prosecuted. A judge has to determine whether he's competent to stand trial. So, competence is an issue that you really have to understand the nature of the proceedings against you and be able to assist in your own defense. So if Tom Girardi is deemed incompetent, then that's a temporary situation. But if it's never restored to competence, he's not going to face criminal justice. Right. And a lot of folks are upset at Erika Jayne because she hasn't been prosecuted. She's been the subject of civil lawsuits. But if this is something that she was involved with, not only could she get in trouble criminally, but the folks at the Secret Service and maybe even the Department of Justice that really participated in this type of scheme could get in trouble as well. So this could be something that ends up being nothing, or something that's very serious for Erika Jayne and others.
Pretty serious. All right. Well, moving on to Ashley Tisdale. She's being sued over a motor vehicle accident that took place last year and allegedly left the other party with severe injuries. So Lena Gonzalez filed a complaint on August 31st in which she accuses Ashley of gross negligence due to the September 6, 2022 car crash on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles. So she claims that Ashley drove in a negligent and reckless manner and blames her for the accident. Her attorney, Gonzalez's attorney, gave TMZ more details about what allegedly occurred, claiming that his client was waiting to make a left turn when Ashley changed lanes and therefore caused the collision. So do we think that Ashley will probably have to pay some sort of settlement if it is proved that she did cause this accident?
Normally what happens in these cases is the insurance companies get involved and they pay out. Car accidents are the most likely way someone's going to be injured. And there's a whole system of adjusters that handle these types of cases, usually pre-litigation. That means without filing a lawsuit. But sometimes the adjuster makes a lowball offer, or the lawyer for the injured party doesn't accept the offer, and the case goes into litigation. But this isn't the type of case that I would expect to go all the way to trial. Sometimes they file a lawsuit to gain some sort of leverage, but the parties will come to an agreement, and that's fully what I expect to happen here. Not many car accident cases actually go all the way.
Right. Surprised that it took a year for her to file this complaint, though?
Not necessarily. Usually when someone's injured in an accident, they're going to wait until they complete their medical treatment until they send a demand. So they might go to physical therapy. They might have to engage in different types of medical procedures. And until they're feeling 100% better, or what they call maximum medical improvement, or MMI, they're not going to send that demand because usually there's one payment in exchange for a release. So you can't get paid over time. So when you're done with your treatment, you know what your medical bills are, you know how much time you missed off work, you know what future medical expenses you have. You add on that pain and suffering, any emotional distress, you send that demand, you begin negotiating, and then usually, most of the time, the parties can come to some resolution. There's a payment made by the insurance company in exchange for a release, and the whole case goes away.
All right, Neama, thank you so much. A lot of big stories this week, and appreciate you, as always, breaking it all down.
Thanks for having me, as always.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below, and visit usmagazine.com.